Greetings, and welcome to a special edition of Seaside Shadows Cemetery Storytime. Now, I left out Saturday there, and that's for good reason, because it's Tuesday. Unfortunately, we did have some severe weather on Saturday, which prevented us from being in this location. But here we are, on hopefully a beautiful Tuesday, or whatever day it is that you're watching. Hi there, I'm Andrew. Today, I'm going to be telling you all about a very interesting person. Someone who, like a lot of these figures that I've covered on our Cemetery Saturdays or our cemetery specials, is tragically underknown by a lot of the community. The person that I'll be talking to about today is Samuel Huntington. You join me here at the grave and monument of Samuel Huntington. When you think of the first president of these United States, no doubt George Washington comes to mind. And for good reason. Yes, he was the first president as we think of the role. But what of the young, rebellious nation's first leaders? Before the Constitution was ratified, when the United States first became an idea, when the Continental Congress elected leaders, when they gathered and signed the Articles of Confederation on March 1st, 1781, Sam Huntington was president. Born in Windham, Connecticut on July 16th, 1731, to Nathaniel and Mehetable Huntington, they were well off by terms of the times, and Sam was already one of 4 children. Later in life, he would have up to 9 siblings. Though he was one of 4, he was the first and eldest son of the Huntingtons, and this put a lot on his shoulders. Sam got what he could from what was known as a common school at the time. And then, after he got all he could out of there, he pursued education by himself. He was self-taught. He was a fiercely intelligent person, but he was shy, quiet, and reserved. When he was 16, he was apprenticed to a cooper, a person who makes barrels and other simple wooden items. At the same time, he was helping out on the family farm, and he was teaching himself everything he could. As I said, he was fiercely intelligent and loved to read. His thirst and quest for knowledge brought him into the companionship of a man, a reverend, named Ebenezer Devotion. Ebenezer Devotion allowed young Sam into his home and access to his library. Using Ebenezer Devotion's library, he furthered his own education, and in 1754, he passed the bar and moved to Norwich, Connecticut, in order to practice law. While studying with the Reverend, young Sam became infatuated. Specifically, he became infatuated with the young Reverend's daughter, Martha Devotion. With a name like that, he had no chance. Sam had come to know and fall in love with the young woman, and by all accounts, it was a very mutual feeling. The feelings were very strong, and they wed in 1761. For an undocumented reason, unfortunately, the two were unsuccessful at every attempt at having children themselves. So perhaps for the good of their being parents, and tragically for the family, Sam's brother, the Reverend Joseph Huntington, passed away. Sam and Martha adopted their niece and nephew and raised them as their own children. Sam was known for his hard work and his fairness, and so the community of Norwich gradually took more and more of a liking to Sam Huntington, and eventually they elected him to his first held office in 1764 as a representative at Connecticut's Lower House Assembly. He would continue to be elected to that specific position for the next decade, and in 1775 he moved up to the Upper House, also known as the Governor's Council. He would serve in that term again for another decade until 1784. Simultaneously, he was appointed the King's Attorney for Connecticut in 1768, and in 1773 was appointed to Connecticut's Supreme Court. Now that's a lot of information that I just threw at you, and a lot of numbers as well. But suffice it to say, this man was a legal genius and a very respected mind at the time. His counsel, as counsel, was highly respected and sought after by both loyalists and those with stirrings of rebellion in their hearts. In 1784, he became the Chief Justice for Connecticut's Supreme Court, and held that position until 1787. Though shy and not a public speaker, he was outspoken about Parliament's treatment of the colonies. There were few things that could rile him, such as what he described as the deception and deceit of Parliament on the colonies. In 1775, he was elected to Continental Congress. In 1776, he was present at and signed the Declaration of Independence and the Articles of Confederation. When John Jay stepped down as president of the Continental Congress, Sam Huntington was elected to replace him. It was September 28th of 1779. Though this was mostly a ceremonial title, Sam did everything he could to change that. He garnered support for the revolution at a time when the war effort was severely waning. It would not have been without Sam's efforts that we won the Revolutionary War. The Articles of Confederation were ratified during his term as president of the Continental Congress. He resided as president on July 9th of 1781, signing. He resigned as president on July 9th, 1791, citing ill health as the reason. He had fought a large bout of smallpox during his time as a congressman. Though he had managed to live, it had incredibly sapped his strength and his health, and he found that he could no longer dedicate himself in the way that he once had to serving as president. In 1782, Connecticut named him as their delegate to Congress once again, but he refused. His health and his duties as a lawyer prevented him. He would return a year later, however, to see the signing of the Treaty of Paris. the Treaty of Paris was the end to the Revolutionary War and the official start of the United States. In 1785, he was elected Lieutenant Governor of Connecticut. He found that his health had returned to a point where he could, in fact, lead once more, and the following year became Connecticut's 18th governor. He did remain in charge of the court as the Chief Justice during his tenure as Lieutenant Governor, but had decided during his reign as governor that he would not and could not hold both offices simultaneously. He was re-elected annually as governor of Connecticut until his death in 1796. In 1788, he presided over Connecticut's ratification of the Constitution and helped the transition from colony to state in all terms of the word. He died at his home while still in office as Connecticut's governor on January 5th, 1796. A fascinating figure, to be sure, and one some historians argue should be regarded as the first president of the United States.